right, so thanks so much. Like Megan said, this is going to be talking about rebooting the technical interview in the age of AI. I mean, let's be real, before even AI, just doing the technical interview in a remote setting was a challenge. And so now the introduction of all these AI tools makes it even more so. So hoping to share some stories with you and some of the things that I've done personally and I've helped implement in my organizations in order to help overcome these challenges now for interviewing managers. Quick bit about me. Yes, I threw up this QR code real quick after I saw Sean's. It's my LinkedIn code. Bit of background about me. I'm a senior engineering manager at TuneCore. TuneCore is an independent music distribution service. Essentially, anytime that an artist needs to get up on Spotify, iTunes, etc., any of the other stores, they need to go through a digital distribution service that's going to handle the distribution, handle rights management, publishing, et cetera, make sure artists gets paid, which is really excellent mission. I've actually been in the music industry for a long time now, many years. I was at a competitor of TuneCore before that for 7 years. And before that, I even worked on a website for artist merch. So I've been in engineering for 20 years, starting as an IC. I'm so old that I did desktop applications. I did military messaging services for the Department of Defense, point of sale systems, client dev work, just the whole shebang. Also co-founded a group called Jersey Shore Women in Tech that I'm very proud of. We've been going for about 8 or 9 years now and had over 800 members. We're actually in a hiatus right now, but definitely plans for the future. So please connect. And then that's my LinkedIn code as well.
Cloud Leadership Circle is brought to you by Dunyasi Ventures, a leading provider of expert recruitment services. Whether you are starting out or scaling up, Dunyasi Ventures recruitment solutions will give you access to expert recruiters who will find the right fit every time. Contact Dunyasi Ventures today for a free consultation to build your dream team.
All right, let's start by talking about some horror stories of the remote interview that I have personally experienced. These are not secondhand accounts. The first one would be the interview ring scam. I don't know if y'all have heard about this, but there is essentially rings of people that will do the interviews for other people and get people jobs. And it's pretty much a numbers game. And being that it's remote work as well, it makes it a lot harder to get caught. You might have, even once they start on, multiple people doing bare minimum work for you. It's pretty wild that these are like full-blown rings now, and definitely something that we have to be aware of. Second one is the LinkedIn scam. I've actually had somebody make a whole LinkedIn profile that actually had the name of a person who did work at all of the companies that they listed, so they were verified. So it might not have even been the same person at each of those companies, but somebody named that worked at each of those companies, and so they were able to get verified. So that was a new one for me as well. Yes, like a week or so later, it was taken down, but I'm not sure what LinkedIn is doing to prevent these, but that makes it extremely challenging for hiring managers, because we could even call these companies and say, hey, did Chris Smith work here? And they will say yes and verify that they were there. So that's really challenging as well. The next one is, yes, we have actually, not at my current job, but have hired somebody doing a video interview, and then somebody else who looked kind of like them is the person that showed up for the job. And it took us a while to figure that out. Things started to not add up. A few of the developers got together and said, I think this might not be the person that we actually interviewed. Because keep in mind too, that we're interviewing lots of people. So it is hard to remember what everybody looks like that you're interviewing, and if that person is the person that showed up. So luckily we caught that. It only took us, a few weeks, but we caught it and had to let that person go. Likely that person was part of an interviewing ring scam as well. And then the final one, which we'll talk about today as well, of course, is the use of AI during an interview. There are so many different tools out there that people can use, including ones that just use people's voices, and you don't even have to type in what the question is, and they'll just listen to the interview and come up with a response. So we'll talk about that today as well. Shifting left. This is kind of the crux of everything. Super hot term right now in all of software development, but we actually need to apply it to the sourcing and interview process as well. So I'm going to talk about what that means here. We'll start off with sourcing. So this is where it all starts, right? You really want to enable everybody on your team to help with this, from everybody from, HR, your hiring managers, your developers, everybody, get everybody involved. So the first one we've noticed is we don't want to post on the mega sites. Okay, if you're posting on Indeed, you are going to get thousands and thousands of responses that are going to be people that are part of these rings, people that are going to be, it's going to be bots. It's going to be people that aren't qualified. You are going to bog down your resourcing because you're going through all of these unqualified, low quality candidates. It's just going to be a waste of everybody's time, and it's going to prevent the real qualified candidates from actually getting through. And if they do, it could be a month from now because you're going through multiple and you don't want to lose those candidates. So starting there, let's not post on the mega sites. All right. The second one is to start closed. So have people use their internal networks. Post first in your company chat. See if anybody internally is interested in the position. See if they have any friends that are interested in the position. Then next, you're going to want to post on your own personal LinkedIn, your own personal networks, everywhere that you have any kind of sources of where you interact with any kind of developers, like that's where you're going to go first. That way you're getting in, again, real candidates, right? Taking it back a step further is building your network. So this is super, super important. If you plan to be a manager or leadership in any kind of way, you have to have a network of people to source from, to learn from, to grow with. There's so many benefits of building a network, and sourcing is one of them. So that means go to tech events. I've met so many people, so many great contacts, learn so much, share stories. It's just such a great way to not just stay up to date on relevant technology, but also build that community with other people who are having the same experiences that you are, even outside of tech. The next one is joining Slack and Discord communities. Okay, so take that networking outside of the events, stay in touch with everybody, do regular posts, comments on people, just make sure that you stay in touch with your network. Then you will find that when you are posting your jobs, you're not just posting into the ether. People remember you, they know you, they'll recommend you, they'll say, I don't know this, but I remember meeting you and it's such a great connect. I definitely have somebody that I think would be a good fit, and they would actually feel comfortable recommending you and your company to their friends. The next one is that if you do plan to hire juniors or the next generation of people coming up into your company, partner with boot camps. They are always looking for companies to partner with in order to get jobs for their new graduates. So this has been a great resource for me, especially if you could find a boot camp that actually teaches your tech stack. That's a huge bonus. So I've gotten some great candidates out of boot camps. There's some really great ones right now. And that's been a huge resource for me for hiring juniors. And the next one is poach. You're not getting robots if you are reaching out to actual candidates that have current jobs, right? So this is, maybe LinkedIn sometimes gets a bad rap, but I really stay up to date on how companies are doing, how employees are feeling in their current positions. If companies are doing layoffs, maybe they just went through an acquisition and people aren't happy, or whatever the case may be, you really get a temperature of the landscape and who might be interested in looking somewhere else. And that way you actually get to be the one to, decide who's coming through your doors, which is a great addition to the funnel as well. And again, encourage even your developers to do this. Encourage your developers to reach out to old coworkers or, to people that they went to school with and things like that. Obviously, you should have some incentive program, some kind of finder's fee for them that helps that encouragement. But yeah, poaching is a great way to get actual real people in the door as well. All right, next one is the interviewing, shifting left. So I've gone through so many different iterations of interviewing, and my number one concern is always just protecting the developers, especially if you have a day that's a whole panel. You might have a front end, a back end, systems design, SQL, like, whatever the case may be. And you don't want somebody to get to that stage unless you know that they're real and they're qualified for the position. So what I have found works is starting with a take-home test. I'll come back to this in a bit because I am going to spend a bit of time on this, but start with a take-home test. Second one is that take-home test is going to get a less than a 30-minute review. And that's going to be just one developer spending less than 30 minutes. And this is not to say, are we going to hire them or not? This is to say, are they real? Should they continue through the process? So you don't want them to spend too much time on it. You don't want them to take time out of their day, spend too much mental energy on it. This is really just to say, are they real? And are they capable of the position that they're applying for? Essentially, like, if they're a senior, does it look like junior work? So we'll come back to that a little bit too. The second part of the interview I recommend is doing the hiring manager next. So the hiring manager is really going to talk to them about like culture, values, what's their work ethic like, what's their temperament like, how do they deal with conflict, essentially like getting to know the person, seeing if they're going to be a good coworker. Because if they're not going to be a good coworker, it does not matter how good their technical skills are if they're going to make everybody miserable and not be a good teammate. So to me, that's way more important. And you can always teach technical skills, but if somebody doesn't quite work well with other people, you don't want them in your organization. That could be pretty toxic. So then after that, I would do the full technical panel. And at this point, obviously, you're going to get people that come in that are going to fail this exam. I mean, that's just the way it's going to be. Steps 1, 2, and 3 aren't going to prevent people from failing 4. But at least when people get to 4, your developers know that they've been well vetted. And at this point, we're assessing how technical they are. And so at least they now have like trust in the process that they are not going to get people that are completely unqualified, people that are fake, people that just should not be wasting their time in this part of the interview. And then the final one is use of like proctoring tools. So there is a lot of different apps out there that help with this. They can determine as much as like, even if somebody's eyes are shifting too much, or if like somebody's in the background, or if they have like multiple tabs open. There's so much of that. I personally haven't gone down this route yet because it does cost money. And I have found that shifting left in the ways that I've described earlier have gotten us already to the point where we have not had to use these tools, but they are there. And it is something that you can use. All right, let's talk about the take home. Don't be scared. The reason for the take home, protect the dev's time. Again, we don't want to go to the full panel and somebody's just absolutely not qualified or they're not real. The second one is that the take home should be, I guess I did this a little bit out of order, but the take home is not going to be a leak code. The take home is going to be a full app that the candidate is going to be able to load up, run, see it working. It's going to be an open-ended test. So when you have an open-ended test, there is no prompt for them to enter into AI. They have to think about it. They have to think about what needs to be done. They have to recognize where the bugs are. They have to recognize that, the UI looks bad in this way or this way. They have to realize that like pagination is broken or, whatever the case may be. And so a big part of this too is being able to assess product mindedness. So we don't just want developers that are, just good at coding and don't think about the product, don't think about how the user experiences this. We want to assess that they understand that this is a working app that users are going to use. A lot of times when you see them overuse AI, the code will be immaculate and then the actual product looks like crap. So that is like such an easy tell. AI is a tool that developers are going to use. They are going to use it even if when they get the job, senior developers use it, staff engineers use it. But the overuse of AI in a take-home test that is a full app is very apparent. And so that is the biggest reason for the take-home test and why when we get take-home test failures, it's like that. It's in a snap. It is so obvious. It sticks out like a sore thumb. And we know that those people are not moving along. When I say it takes 30 minutes to assess, it's in a few seconds that they can determine if it's all AI, which is awesome and the whole point of this, like save everybody's time. Another thing that you can do in this is ask for a lot of commenting, a lot of devlogs, have them use their voice, have them explain their reasoning. And so you get to hear, is this a human that is making these decisions? Again, another way in which AI becomes very apparent. If they start using AI for that commenting and those logs, it becomes very, very apparent. And then the first technical interview in that full panel is a pairing session of that. So, okay, you made this, let's talk about it. Tell me about it. Add this feature now. You said that if you had more time, you'd want to do XYZ. Can you add that, etc.? It's like such a good way to assess the developer outside of just, leak code type stuff. And then the bonus is devs actually love it. I've gotten so much great feedback about this. I know that everybody's like scared of take homes, like nobody wants to put in the time, but every single person that has done it will write a little note afterwards saying, this was so fun. I love doing this. Like, I'm going to continue to work on this even after the fact. So that's a huge bonus. I wanted to just like show you what our README looks like for the app, because this just like gives you an idea of how this is like open-ended, and we really want to understand the developer as a person. So this is a choose your own adventure app. We say it's an open-ended test. You can find and fix bugs, work on front end and back end, add features, integrate libraries, etc. For us, our stack this is a Ruby on Rails test. We also have React in our stack. So we say, if you want to implement React, go ahead, go as deep as you like. We don't expect you to spend more than 4 hours on it. By the way, we do give them 48 hours to complete this, but we don't expect them to spend the whole 48 hours on it. And then we say that it's important you overly comment on your code so we can understand your thought process. And that's like one of the most important parts. If somebody puts up a PR without any comments or anything, it's probably going to be a fail. And then we talk about AI, because let's be real, they're going to use it. So we understand that using AI has become part of the development process. We encourage you to only use it very sparingly. Show us what you can really do and how you think and problem solve. If you do use AI, we also encourage you to share your AI logs as part of your submission. So that is something that they can submit as well. We have had people do that. It is very interesting. Yeah, this just shows these are the directions that we give them. And so again, it becomes very apparent if they're not a real person or not speaking with their own words when it comes to commenting. And using AI to make something a little bit more efficient, fine. But does your app work? Is it responsive? Did you fix the bugs, etc.? Those are things they really have to figure out on their own. Next is I don't necessarily have to go through all of this stuff, and y'all can screenshot it, and maybe I could share the slides afterwards, but we just have some guidelines on what to look for when doing the take home. So there's going to be, obviously, it's got to be well documented with PR comments and additions to the README, however they want to do it. There's going to be basics. So got to make sure there's no clear overuse of AI. The pages load, styling is fixed, basic functionality. Then next we look for, are they good with, clean code? Did they do any additions? Adding specs is a huge plus. And then the extras are they product minded? Are their comments thorough and understandable? Did they do bare minimum or above and beyond, et cetera, et cetera? And then just again, to reiterate to the developers looking at it that AI is okay in moderation. I don't know if I have time for the how-to. I'll go through this really, really quickly. So the how-to is just you have to create a new organization in GitHub for the take-home, create your master repo, get the candidate's GitHub handle, and again, you tell them they have 48 hours, however long you want to give them. Make a new repo just for them with a copy of the master repo and add them as a collaborator. And so then you just revoke access after the 48 hours is complete. All right, that's it. Q&A time. Anybody have any questions? And also shameless plug that we're hiring.